Imagine this. You are about to undergo surgery, fully awake. No anesthesia, no pain relief. You feel every cut, every scream, every second. This was not ancient history. This was medicine just 180 years ago. Back then, doctors could not see inside the human body, and worse, they could not stop pain. Surgery was a race against time, not to heal better, but to reduce suffering as quickly as possible. Patients were held down by force. Assistants restrained their arms and legs while surgeons worked with terrifying speed. A skilled surgeon could amputate a limb in under a minute, not for precision, but simply to limit the agony. The room was filled with screams. Some patients fainted, some went into shock, and some never survived the pain. Alcohol was used, opium was given, herbal remedies were tried, but nothing could truly take the pain away. Imagine removing a tumor while the patient is fully conscious, aware of every movement, every incision. Medicine had progressed, but pain remained unconquered. Humanity needed something more, a breakthrough that seemed almost impossible. Then, something unexpected happened. In the early 1800s, a strange trend began to spread across America and parts of Europe. They called them laughing gas parties. People gathered in halls, curious, excited to experience something unusual. A gas known as nitrous oxide was inhaled, and within moments, everything changed. People burst into uncontrollable laughter. They stumbled, they danced, they shouted as if the world around them no longer mattered. Pain seemed to disappear. Fear vanished. They behaved like they were invincible. It became entertainment, a spectacle, a social craze. But hidden inside this strange amusement was something far more powerful, something no one yet understood. Until one man decided to look closer. In 1844, a dentist named Horace Wells attended one of these demonstrations. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a performance, but then something happened that changed everything. A man, under the influence of laughing gas, injured his leg badly. The wound was real, but his reaction was not. He felt nothing. No pain, no fear, no awareness of the injury. Wells watched in complete shock. How could this be possible? A serious injury without suffering? In that moment, a question formed in his mind. What if this gas could be used not for entertainment, but for medicine? What if surgery could be performed without pain? The very next day, Wells made a bold decision. He would test the idea on himself. He inhaled nitrous oxide, and as the effects took over, he asked a colleague to remove one of his teeth. No hesitation, no fear, just an experiment, driven by curiosity. The tooth was pulled, and when it was over, Wells realized something extraordinary. He had felt nothing, no pain. For the first time in human history, a surgical procedure had been performed without agony. In that moment, anesthesia was born. But history is not always kind to those who discover something new. Horace Wells believed he had found the answer to pain, and he wanted the world to see it. In January 1845, Wells arranged a public demonstration at Massachusetts General Hospital in front of doctors, students, and skeptics. A patient was brought in. A dental procedure was to be performed under nitrous oxide. Everything was ready. Wells administered the gas, waited, and began the extraction. But something went wrong. The dose was not enough. As the tooth was pulled, the patient cried out, in pain. The room fell silent. Then, laughter. Doctors mocked him. Students jeered. They called it a failure. They called him a fraud. In that moment, Wells's discovery collapsed in front of everyone. Humiliated, broken, he left the stage and never truly recovered from that failure. But the idea refused to die. Among those who witnessed this era was another man, a young dentist named William Morton. Morton believed pain could still be conquered, but perhaps not with laughing gas. He began experimenting with another substance, ether. Ether had been known for years, used recreationally, much like laughing gas, but never taken seriously as a medical solution. Morton saw what others had missed. He refined the method, controlled the dosage, prepared carefully for another attempt. Then came October 16th, 1846, a day that would change history. At the same hospital, Massachusetts General Hospital, in a surgical theater now known as the Ether Dome, a patient lay on the table facing surgery. A tumor needed to be removed from his neck. Morton stepped forward, holding a glass inhaler filled with ether vapor. The patient inhaled slowly. The room was tense. Doctors watched closely, waiting. Moments passed. The patient grew still, silent. The surgeon began. Carefully, deliberately, he made the incision. No screams, no struggle, no pain. The operation continued, calm, controlled, precise. When it was over, the patient awoke, and when asked, he said something unbelievable. He felt nothing. The room was stunned. This time, there was no laughter, no doubt, only silence, followed by realization. One of the surgeons, John Collins Warren, turned to the audience and spoke the words that would echo through history. "Gentlemen, this is no humbug." And just like that, everything changed. The failure of the past had led to the breakthrough of the future. From that day on, anesthesia was no longer an idea, it was reality. Surgery would never be the same again. Pain was no longer inevitable. And what began with laughter, with doubt, and even with failure, had finally become one of the greatest medical revolutions in human history. Anesthesia became reliable. What began as a failed experiment became one of the greatest revolutions. Everything changed. Surgery was no longer a race against pain. It became a science of precision. Doctors could take their time, focus on saving lives instead of simply reducing suffering. Complex operations became possible, delicate procedures, life-saving interventions, all because pain was finally under control. Today, anesthesia is everywhere, in hospitals, in dental clinics, in emergency rooms. From minor procedures to major surgeries, it protects millions of patients every single day. Countless lives have been saved because of one simple idea, born from an unexpected moment. A moment at a laughing gas party. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries do not come from careful planning or controlled experiments. They come from curiosity, from observation, from the courage to ask a simple question. What if? And that question changed medicine forever.